If high-stakes poker was a basketball game, then the Warriors vs. Grizzlies matchup was the all-in-hand. With their seasons hanging by a thread, both teams shoved their chips into the middle. Winner moves on, loser goes home. No safety nets. No second chances. Just pure, unfiltered playoff pressure. But before we dive into the madness, shout out to our sponsor PrizePicks, the ultimate destination for daily fantasy sports. Think you know ball? With PrizePicks, you can turn your basketball knowledge into real cash. Just pick 2 to 6 players, guess whether they'll go over or under their projected stats, and boom, you're basically a sports stock trader, minus the boring spreadsheets. It's not just hoops either, they've got baseball, MMA, golf, probably even thumb wrestling someday. Use code GOAT when you deposit $10, play your first $5, and they'll instantly hand you $50. Win or lose, let's get paid. Alright, back to the game. After a tough loss to the Clippers, the 7th-seeded Warriors faced off against the 8th-seeded Grizzlies in a do-or-die showdown. Right from the jump, it was clear, both teams came to scrap. Moses Moody got the first crack at guarding Ja Morant, and while he made things uncomfortable, Ja's explosiveness was on full display. Rejecting the screen, he used Moody's own momentum against him and pulled up for a smooth step-back jumper. Cold-blooded. Meanwhile, Memphis's new head coach wasted no time dialing up plays, running a sideline out-of-bounds entry into Eddie. With the Dubs switching off the staggered DHO, Jaren Jackson Jr. found himself wide open from deep splash. Grizzlies up early. And then, the whistle. It was brutal for Steph. He tried to draw contact on a leaning 3, no call, no bucket, Grizzlies ball. Memphis had a game plan, double-team Steph at every disadvantageous switch, force others to beat them. It was smart. Moody had a shot off the corner skip pass but couldn't punish the defense. Still, Golden State didn't blink. In transition, Moses made up for it, converting a smooth 2-on-1 to get the Dubs on the board. On the other end, Scottie Pippen Jr. was cooking. When Draymond went down, Pippen went straight at Steph, forcing Moody to collapse and leaving Ja wide open. Splash, that's 2 threes in a row for Morant. Then it was Jaren Jackson Jr. again, this time trailing in transition, another 3. The Grizzlies were heating up. And if you thought the disrespect couldn't get worse, they stuck their 7 feet 4 inches Canadian big on Jimmy Butler, daring him to shoot. He did. And he burned them. Meanwhile, Steph was being face-guarded like it was a one-on-one drill. But he's still the chef. Backdoor cut. Draymond with a beautiful bounce pass. Layup. Vintage Warriors basketball. Ja responded with 7 quick points of his own. His first step? Just unfair. Steph's gravity was warping the court again. On early offense, defenders collapsed toward him, leaving weak side gaps wide open. Bang, he nails a 3 from deep. But Memphis wasn't going anywhere. Their size on the offensive glass was brutal. Reckless Warriors closeouts gave them second-chance looks. Coach Kerr countered. He targeted Eddie, the Grizzlies' slow-footed big, with small-on-small screens, letting GP2 slice through for quick buckets. And while Eddie missed a thunderous dunk off a gorgeous Memphis touch pass play, the Warriors made them pay on the other end with a 5-point swing. From there, Steph got loose. Top-locked again? No problem. Draymond's DHO freed him up for a floater. A 16-5 Warriors run flipped the game. Their defense cranked up. Steph intercepted the jump ball, ignited transition, and hit Hield for an easy lay. Timeout Memphis. But even after the timeout, the Dubs kept the pressure high. In transition, GP2 ran the wing perfectly and was rewarded with a sweet dime. This was no regular season game. This had that playoff intensity. And with Jimmy Butler starting to cook, the Grizzlies were feeling the heat. A circus shot here, a power drive there. Butler wasn't just playing, he was imposing his will. But Memphis stayed alive. Desmond Bane and Luke Kennard hit back-to-back threes to stop the bleeding. After a wild roller coaster of a first quarter, the Grizzlies closed on a 7-0 run. The score? 31-25, and we were just getting started. The second quarter kicked off with Jimmy Butler in full control. He wasn't just scoring, he was setting the tone defensively. Taking on the point-of-attack duties, he forced early turnovers, clogged lanes, and made the Grizzlies uncomfortable from the jump. On the other end, the Warriors ran clean, efficient transition offense. Post, their sharpshooting rookie, thrived as the trailer, not just pulling up for threes, but making the right reads. Instead of settling, he attacked closeouts and drew defenders in, forcing Memphis to collapse. Jimmy didn't settle either. He went right at Eddie, the 7 feet 4 inches big, who kept getting caught in space. Butler faked the shot, drove around him, and scored with ease. Isolation. No problem. Memphis had no answer. He was dominating both physically and mentally. This offensive barrage gave Steve Kerr room to breathe. With Butler in rhythm, he strategically rested Steph, keeping his minutes fresh for the second half. The Warriors' defense, meanwhile, was locked in. Their rotations were crisp, their communication on point, and they kept the Grizzlies out of the paint and out of rhythm. But Desmond Bane wasn't going down easy. Even with all the Warriors' defensive schemes, Bane kept Memphis alive. Spot-up threes. Mid-range pull-ups. Everything he touched turned to gold. So Coach Kerr responded. He started blitzing Bane off the pick-and-rolls, forcing him to give up the ball and disrupting Memphis's flow. And it worked, for a while. Golden State continued their whoever offense, targeting Eddie relentlessly. Pick-and-roll, post-ups, screens, switches, anything to drag him into action and exploit his slow feet. But then came a problem. Draymond Green checked out, and without him, the paint started leaking. Memphis took full advantage. Quick drives, soft finishes, and clean looks at the rim. Still, Jimmy was anchoring Golden State. On one slick baseline cut, he drew in 2 defenders and found Santos under the rim for the and one. 4 assists and counting. Jimmy wasn't just scoring, he was quarterbacking. And right when Memphis thought they had Curry bottled up, boom, Steph pulls up from a logo. A 3 from Alcatraz. That's just not fair. And if you thought he was slowing down at 37, think again. On the very next possession, Steph hit the most textbook relocation 3 you'll ever see. Looney handed it off. Steph darted, popped out, caught, and let it fly. Net. Automatic. The Warriors turned defense into offense. On a long rebound, Steph pushed the pace, found Moody, and the ball whipped around for a dagger 3. Every possession felt like a haymaker. But credit to Memphis, they never backed down. Ja Morant's drive-and-kick game started generating real looks. Aldama hit from the corner. Bane stayed hot. In the timeout huddle, the new Finnish head coach delivered a sharp message. We've got to get organized in transition. Every time we drive, they're sprinting the other way. Communication. Protect the rim. Guard the 3. Simple. Precise. And it helped. Pippen Jr. came out of the break still glued to Steph. Face-guarding like a one-on-one drill. But that pressure, it opened things up. The Dubs' mistakes gave Ja Morant daylight, and when he gets daylight, it's game over. A smooth Eurostep finish and a mid-range pull-up brought Memphis back within striking distance. And just when the Warriors started looking a little shaky, Jimmy took over again, this time from the post. He bodied his way down low, forced rotations, and even when Draymond missed a layup, Butler cleaned it up like clockwork. Second chance points. Secured. Golden State kept running their classic split-action plays, and even when the shot didn't fall, their ball movement was elite. Moody found Green. Fake pass. One more to the corner. Splash. Despite leading by 20 at one point, the Warriors saw that cushion shrink. But thanks to Butler's brilliance and Curry's deep bomb antics, they still entered halftime with a 67-55 lead. They were up by 12, but this battle was far from over. The second half started with a clear strategy from Steve Kerr, send hard doubles to Eddie in the post. And right away it worked. Eddie panicked, threw a high pass out of bounds, turnover. Golden State's defensive intensity was back. On offense, the Warriors ran their classic split action, with Steph setting a step-back screen before flaring out, freeing Jimmy Butler for an easy drive and finish. Textbook movement. Too smooth. And Kerr wasn't done tweaking. On the next few possessions, Jimmy started doubling off Eddie, then recovering in time to blow up the drive. His defensive IQ was everywhere, calling switches, cutting off angles, disrupting Memphis at the source. But here's the problem. When Steph had to tag in and cover interior size, the mismatch was real. You could feel it. Golden State's small ball lineup was teetering. Still, the doubles kept coming. Another one at Eddie. But with the shot clock running down, Desmond Bane hoisted a prayer, and the basketball gods answered. 3-pointer. Just like that, the Grizzlies caught a spark. Next play, another turnover from Eddie. The Dubs pounced in transition. Butler made a perfect read, cutting through the middle for an easy 2. But Memphis kept force-feeding Eddie, trying to draw fouls, trying to get back in it through the paint. Jimmy wasn't having it. He attacked Eddie on the other end, drew contact, 4th foul. The big man had to sit. Huge momentum shift. But as soon as Dre came back in to press the advantage, he got hit with his 4th foul too. Now both enforcers were in trouble. Then came the Ja Morant show. Off a high screen from Jaren Jackson Jr., Ja pulled out the hang dribble, froze the defense, and floated the lob. Easy alley-oop. Momentum shifting. Everything was clicking for Memphis. Fast break layups. Backdoor cuts. Paint points. Golden State went ice cold from the field. Couldn't buy a bucket. Memphis was living rent-free inside the paint. Then came the play that turned heads. Jimmy Butler went full Cookie Monster. Jaren Jackson Jr. tried a spin move, and Jimmy just ripped the ball clean out of his hands like a grown man stealing lunch money. Took it coast to coast for the easy bucket. Timeout Memphis. The lead was slipping. Meanwhile, Pods was getting cooked trying to guard Bane. Floaters. Runners. He couldn't contain him. The Warriors' defense suddenly looked a step slow, and Coach Lalo saw his moment. Despite the risk, he brought Eddie back into the game with 4 fouls. The gamble. It backfired. GP2 caught a clean dare shot and drilled it. Kerr responded to the gamble by bringing back Draymond, foul trouble and all. But then, disaster. Ja Morant rose up for a baseline jumper and landed on someone's ankle. He went down hard. The whole arena held its breath. Trainers rushed over. Morant was slow to get up, and everything changed. On the very next play, Steph pulled up off a post-defensive rebound and splashed a three from the wing. The Warriors' crowd exploded. The Grizzlies were suddenly without their star and fighting to stay in it. Yet somehow, Memphis kept battling. Even with Ja on the bench and medical staff attending to him, they clawed their way back. Jackson Jr. hit a big three, and Bane kept lighting it up. All while Jimmy Butler was living at the line, drawing contact, selling fakes, and making Memphis pay. To close out the quarter, Butler drove through traffic, over, around, and through defenders, and laid it in. That bucket gave him 34 points and pushed the Warriors into the fourth with just a 3-point lead. Golden State 91. Memphis 88. The Grizzlies had erased a 20-point deficit, and with 1 quarter to play, it was anybody's game. The fourth quarter opened with Memphis riding a wave of momentum. They had clawed their way back, cut the lead to 3, and came out firing. A quick 3 from the wing, bang, tie game. And that shot came after the shooter took a hit to the back of the head, got up, and drilled it like nothing happened. Grit. Meanwhile, the Warriors' defense was still stuck in neutral. Miscommunication. Ball watching. One slip, and Carr cut behind the line for an easy backdoor layup. Steve Kerr had seen enough. He tightened the screws, ordering aggressive doubles and hard traps to force Memphis out of rhythm. But then, the building shook. Ja Morant limped back into the game. Still favoring that ankle, but clearly not done. The dude had fire in his eyes. And though he wasn't moving like his usual self, he still found pockets. A soft mid-range jumper tied it up again. But Golden State had a secret weapon, not a play, not a coach, but gravity. The Steph Curry kind. On one possession, Draymond hit post, cutting to the rim after Curry drew the entire defense's attention. Wide open layup. That off-ball movement from Steph? It was tilting the entire floor. Still, Memphis didn't quit. Even on one leg, Ja was denying switches, fighting through screens, and making Steph work for every inch. And when the Warriors miscommunicated again, Jaren Jackson Jr. punished them, bang, 3-ball. But Jimmy Butler wasn't done either. He kept attacking the rim, forcing trips to the line, milking every matchup. And on one crafty possession, he set a sneaky screen for Steph that flowed straight into a handoff from Draymond, splash. Warriors back up 3. Memphis answered right back with dazzling ball movement. Drive, kick, swing, corner, Aldama for 3. Tied again. This was a battle. The Warriors kept dragging Eddie into pick and rolls, GP2 screening for Curry, then slashing to the rim off the short roll. It was surgical. Still, Bane wasn't letting go, hitting corner threes and keeping Memphis within striking distance. Steph kept hunting Ja, trying to force the switch. But Ja, even limping, refused. He held his ground. Fought over every screen. That's heart. Phil. Jimmy was inevitable. Clock ticking. Shot clock down. Butler rises. Money. 38 points and counting. Then came the dagger play. Kerr drew it up to perfection. Inverted pick and roll, Butler handling, Draymond setting the screen, Curry curling out to the corner. Catch, fire, bang. A Steph bomb that shook the arena. Memphis answered again. They always did. But now, every possession felt like a final exam, and the Warriors had Steph Curry with a calculator while Memphis had chalk and hope. Shot clock winding down. Curry off a screen. Fakes. Fires. Sticks it. Timeout Memphis. But it wasn't over just yet. With a chance to seal it, Jimmy made a rare mistake. He forced a pass into traffic, turnover. Pippen Jr. darted the other way, and just when it looked like 2 easy points, Petrosky soared in for a clutch block. Massive. And then, a 5-second inbound violation by the Grizzlies. The kind of error that only happens when the moment gets too big. That was the final nail. Final score, Warriors 121, Grizzlies 116. The Dubs silenced every critic, every doubter, and every hot take merchant. They grabbed the 7th seed and are now locked in to face the Houston Rockets in a best-of-7. And if tonight proved anything, they're not done yet.